So the story that connects to him here is that of Captain Henry T. Waskow of the Texas 36th Infantry Division. So Captain Waskow he hailed from, I believe it was Belton. It might have been Temple, but they're right next to each other. Down towards the hill country in Texas, south of Waco. He was a member of the Texas 36th National Guard. And the Guard got nationalized. And so the story about him goes that he was a company commander, and he was greatly loved by his men. He was only like maybe 22 or 3 years old, but most of these guys were 17 and 18, and they looked up to him like a father. He treated them incredibly well. So I believe it was December 16, 1943, fighting in the mountains in southern Italy. Captain Waskow got up to lead a counterattack, and when he did, German artillery went off somewhere in the near, and a piece of shrapnel hit him in the chest, which killed him. And Ernie Pyle wrote a dispatch, which I highly recommend that all of you find this link to Captain Waskow, Italy, Mules, Ernie Pyle. Find that story online and read it. And I'll tell you what, it'll bring tears to your eyes. I'll give you a synopsis of it. Ernie Pyle is at the halfway point on the mountain, and they're seeking cover in a this is in Italy. This December of 43. They're seeking shelter from the rain and the cold in a cowshed. In the middle of the night, the mules start to arrive. So the Americans used mules in the mountains of Italy in order to transport goods and dead. And so Ernie Pyle says the mules started to arrive. You could see them coming down the mountain, and they had dead guys strapped to the back of them. And so he said the mule skinner guys, the Americans who brought them down, they unleashed the guys and laid them down next to this short stone brick wall. And he said as they got one guy off of his mule, it was as though he was standing and they were helping him. It looked like he was a wounded guy. And then they laid him down, and one of them said, "This is Captain Waskow." And everybody fell silent. So Ernie Pyle stood there and watched as one by one the men from his unit came up, and he talked about an officer that knelt down and held his hand for like 5 minutes, looking into his eyes. He didn't say a word. He got up and walked off. And another guy came down and he fixed his collar and fixed his shirt around the wound where he got hit. And said, "I'm sorry, old man." And he got up and walked off. Then a couple of young kids that were too young to even cuss came up and said, "Damn it to hell," and "Damn it to hell anyway," and walked off. And he said, "You feel so small standing in the presence of those dead men." But I'll have to tell you this. I used to go to the Texas 36th Division reunions after my dad died. And I remember going one down around the hill country. It was down around that way where he was from, Belton Temple. And in the hotel, his sister walked in, and I didn't know who she was. She was just an elderly lady. I figured she was the wife of one of the men. And Captain Waskow's sister came in, and it was like the Queen of England came in. All the guys rushed over to her and talked to her, and everybody was so kind and graceful to her. They had grown up together. They were in the National Guard, and so they grew up in the same town. So everybody knew her. I'm sure it was a great loss. So in memory and in honor of Captain Waskow and of Ernie Pyle, lest we forget.